Kentucky Spin. Our four core values: respect, education, dignity, empowerment. Established 1988, Kentucky Spin is a parent training and information center in Kentucky.
All right, we will respect everyone's time this morning and we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Amber Ham. I am the Training and Outreach Coordinator with Kentucky Spin, and we are so excited to have each and every one of you here today for our Transition Tuesday, Disability Denial and Accessing Services. So we'll tell you just a little bit about who we are. Kentucky Spin is the Parent Training and Information Center. We are the one and only PTI in Kentucky, and we are also Kentucky's PTI for Pacers Project Launch. Kentucky Spin is the Parent Training and Information Center in Kentucky through a peer support model. We provide information, training, and connections to community resources, to families and individuals with disabilities. We also give the same services to other professionals, and we create and distribute information and resources to youth and young adults with disabilities and their families. These services empower individuals and families to effectively self-advocate. I do want to let you know that I have posted a link in the chat for live closed caption. You can click that and utilize that if needed. There is also a link for today's presentation in the chat, and I will repost that a few times as we move throughout the webinar this morning so that everyone has access to that. If you do not have time to grab the link for the presentation, no worries. You will receive a follow-up email following the end of the webinar with the link to the PowerPoint, as well as all of the resources that we'll be giving you today. A little bit more that we like to tell everyone, as far as Kentucky Spin, we do not represent families. We do not give legal advice. We are not attorneys. However, we do empower individuals and families to advocate for themselves. We provide resources. We give that listening ear in the peer support model, from one person with a disability or one family member or caregiver to a family member with a disability to another. We're always here to support, and we do not require a diagnosis to help support an individual or their families. And now I'm going to pass it off to David Davis Rodriguez and let him tell you a little bit about himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Davis Rodriguez. I am 34 years old, and I received my first IEP when I was in ninth grade to help with my ADHD and other learning disabilities I had. Later in life, I developed just a small case of OCD. And I also serve as a youth mentor with disabilities and without disabilities through my church. I'm going to go ahead and now pass it off to Nick.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Carpenter. I'm the youth educator for Kentucky Spin. I'm 26 years old, and I have an autism diagnosis that I've had since the age of 4. I have over 12 years of advocacy experience, of personal advocacy, self-advocacy experience, and I've served as a mentor for youth with disabilities. And I also had an IEP in school and received various forms of speech and occupational therapy throughout my schooling. And even with all of those, today I still do depend on, as an adult living by myself, I still depend on various natural supports in my adult life. So a little bit about this presentation before we get into the rest of it is that we had a private contractor who made a video some time ago. So I'm just letting everyone know ahead of time that we have a few splices of this video throughout the presentation, where he's just going to talk about he's going to talk shortly about different parts of disability denial as well as what we're presenting about. So that's just a heads up here. And here we'll go ahead and go with that first part of that video.
Hey guys, how's it going? I want to talk to you guys a little bit about diagnoses and how we focus too much on the word diagnosis itself instead of focusing on what is the challenge that we actually have and what can we do to try to do whatever we want to do better. You know, we want to fight that challenge, whatever it is. And diagnosis is really just a fancy word of saying that you have some sort of disability or you have something that's a challenge that we need to find a solution to so that you can do whatever it is you want to do.
So today, we're going to talk about disability denial and the different services that you can access. I'm sorry, I'm just pushing a quick. Today, we're going to talk about what disability denial means, the importance of understanding your disability, and how to access services to support you. So disability, what is a disability? Well, if you don't know, disability is defined as a physical or mental disorder that makes it difficult to walk, see, hear, speak, learn, or do other various things. And so what is disability denial? Disability denial is essentially, it's just a refusal to admit or acknowledge a disability. And this is something, we're going to go really big into this, but it's disability denial isn't necessarily something that someone outside can have towards a disability. Disability denial can also be an individual with disability refusing to admit or acknowledge their own disability. And that's why it's important that we talk about it and ways to get around it and overcome it. So why do people have disability denial? So we're going to talk about two topics here in this next part. We're going to talk about stigma and ableism, which are two big contributing factors to why people have disability denial, why they grow up with it. So most people deny having a disability because they're scared or fearful of being judged because of a disability, rather than people noticing their strengths and what they can achieve. We call these judgments of others stigma and ableism. So what is stigma? Stigma is an unfair belief about someone. Stigma is when someone unfairly and negatively sees you because of your disability due to certain assumptions or things that are kind of out in the mainstream about people with different disabilities. Their stigmas aren't true, but it's just kind of things that people, just assumptions that people, unfair assumptions that people make about people because of disabilities. And so what is ableism? The Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines ableism as discrimination or prejudice against individuals with disabilities. So two big things to clarify with ableism is that there's two different types of ableism. There's negative ableism, and there's also what's called positive ableism. And I want to be very clear that even though positive ableism is referred to as positive, it is still not a good thing. Ableism is not good at all. There's nothing good about ableism and making ableist comments. However, I do want to distinct that there is negative and positive ableism. They're both bad, but I'll get into why they're both bad. So negative ableism is when people use a disability as an insult or as an excuse for discrimination. An example of negative ableism would be if you're talking to someone and they don't respond to you, and then you yell at them and you ask them if they're deaf. That's negative ableism because you're bringing up a disability or the fact that they might have a disability and using that to insult them or to get at them because you're frustrated. Whereas positive ableism is when people try to use kindness or compliments as a way to ignore a disability, which is also very bad. I want to say, like, if I had a nickel for every time someone told me or my mother that I didn't look autistic as a form of a compliment, I have a lot of nickels. So again, positive ableism, not good at all. It's also very bad, but it's people trying to give you a compliment or phrasing it in a way to make it seem like to try to just ignore the disability, which again is not good. So we have another clip here from Ian.
Let's talk a little bit about the real question. The real question is, what works for you? So what works, what the doctors recommend, a lot of times doesn't work for everybody. A lot of doctors prescribe medicine, which does work for people, and therapy, which works for some people. But some people don't want either one. And so I'll use myself as an example. I've struggled with bouts of depression before. And when I go through something like that, a lot of doctors will tell me you need to use a medication.
So how does your disability affect you? So this is a quick interactive slide if you want to provide your own feedback. So if you're comfortable asking, or if you're in a classroom and you have your teacher and you're comfortable sharing in that classroom, so your teacher can post it in the chat. How does your disability affect you? And what are some struggles that you deal with because of your disability? This is completely not this is completely optional. I know some people don't like talking about that stuff. It's perfectly fine. If you are comfortable, we'd love to hear different different sides of it. I know Davis wants to share, and I see him already raising his hand. So I'll let Davis go ahead and share.
Well, for me, it took me a while when I was in high school to better understand how to focus in on my ADHD and how I could translate that into things. When I was playing sports, I'd get, off my own world, thinking about something else. And so I just had to teach myself how to do those proper steps. So before I would go into like football practice or basketball practice, I would listen to some music. I went to my guidance counselor at school and like, hey, look, I'm not going to be successful in playing sports if I have to sit at the computer lab that last hour and a half of the day. I need to be, have gym or wood shop or something where I can be up and moving to get some of this extra energy out I have. Because by the time I get it out at practice, I've done and just missed all practice in my head. So they did that. They had me switched. One semester I did gym. Next semester I would do wood shop during those, because for when I went to school, practice was immediately right after school. So, and music is also a big factor for me, just getting the right song just so I can get vibing and get focused in when I'm trying to get done.
And here we have Rhonda and Amber both gave feedback. Rhonda says that her anxiety affects her in social situations when there is the unknown involved. I definitely agree as someone with anxiety with that. There's a lot of times where I'll just get stressed out over nothing because of my anxiety. And so I get that. And Amber says that her son tells her that he feels like he is being left behind because of his autism, which is an unfortunate thing that, especially being because I know I've never met Amber's son personally, but I know he's very young, and I know that when you're young and you have a disability like that, it can be really hard to kind of figure out where you're going in life and how you're going to get through it. So I get that. So my disability affects me. I have a thing that it's referred to as executive dysfunction. It's not a disability. It's just kind of it's kind of like just a side thing with being autistic, where I have trouble. Like if I know I need to do something, like for example, like I know that I'm supposed to do laundry. Like I live by myself in my own house, so like I know that I need to go do laundry and I need to wash dishes and do X amount of tasks throughout the week. And I know I need to do them and I know why I need to do them, but I'll be like, it'll come up time to do it and I just won't do it. It's like, I know I need to do it, but my mind and my body won't work together to actually do it. And that's executive dysfunction. It makes it where you just can't, you need to do something, but you just don't. We have Nancy Werner said that one of her students says her ADHD causes her to interrupt people. And yeah, I've seen that with ADHD before. Davis, I saw you raise your hand again.
I was just gonna say we had messages in the chat.
Yeah. And Rhonda's brother with a physical disability is affected because of judgments others have that he can't do things and he can, just in a different way. And that is for Rhonda, I know because disabilities affect everyone differently. Disabilities, it's a whole big ocean of various different things that people can have. And I do know that in a lot of cases, having a physical disability, depending on what it is, can be really hard because, like I just said with like talking about ableism in a previous slide, where people have told me that I don't look like I'm autistic. It's a lot easier to quote unquote hide a mental disability, but with physical disabilities, it's a physical thing. It's something you can't really like put away. or conceal, and people get ridiculed and and that is acknowledged a lot easier, and it can be hard. Yes, Amber.
Hi, we had a question come in
Okay.
for you and Davis that says, if I feel like I can't do something or participate because of my disability, what should I do?
Davis, if you want to tackle this one, or
Yeah,
I can tackle it.
yeah, I go and got it. When I was having these difficulties, I would confide into a peer, a friend, a good friend. You're like, hey, I really want to do football, but I'm not for sure, how that would work with me just being, all over the place with it having to be more of a structured sport. Um, and we just talked. He's like, well, I'm on a football team and I could help and I could help you teach your playbook. You can also, talk to your guidance counselor, or go to a trusted teacher, your parents, uncle, another adult that could help you, support you in doing this, and maybe find different things that could support you, things you need that you just potentially may not think of, but they see. Um, so always reaching out to an adult or a close friend was always, I said, good go to.
All right. So natural supports are very important. Which I'll try to get into that a little bit later, talking about natural supports. Uh, but yeah, thank you for those of you who responded and gave feedback. And let's move on. So, a really important thing with disability denial is learning how to cope with your feelings and understand what you need to be successful. Again, there's a huge, vast ocean of disabilities. Disabilities are different for everyone. It affects everyone differently. My autism is not the same as someone else's autism. And that it applies for everything when it comes to disabilities. So just because I've figured out how to cope and work with my disability one way does not mean that someone else with autism is going to have the same success / same experience. So it's really important for you um, to with self-determination to figure out how to cope with your feelings about your disability and know what you need to be successful. Because again, not everyone is the same, and just because something works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for someone else. Now we have another clip here from Ian.
Instead, what I do is I've learned to manage on my own. I have a support group. I have people that I talk to.
Bro, what's going on?
And also, I go for walks and I play video games and I read books to try to change the way that I think about the world, and whatever's got me down, I try to rethink about it. And so there's all kinds of different things that you can try, and I want to encourage you to try to do those different things because they're really important. So really, some diagnoses are not even diagnoses, but they're just strengths and weaknesses, right? So for example, I saw this picture floating around the internet of this youth who got into a helicopter ride over New York City. It was like a 20-minute ride. And there's this picture that went viral on the internet where he saw the city in that 20-minute ride and was able to draw the full city just after seeing it in the helicopter ride. And he has autism. And so a lot of times this can be like a superhero. You may be diagnosed with autism, but you're really good at math or really good at honing in and focusing on data or something like that. And so some people manage that way. They know the strengths of what they have. So, I was diagnosed with ADHD as well. And so I'm hyper and I change topics often and stuff like that. That makes me a very dynamic speaker and helps me when I'm talking to people, and I can be interesting and change and different things like that. So it's possible to think about whatever it is that you may have an issue with and figure out different things that maybe are not clinical, maybe are not medicine and therapy. And it's very easy for us to find ourselves almost in like a denial, right? Almost like we don't have nothing because we keep facing that stigma
But yeah, but going on with the clip that we just shared with Ian, where he mentioned, I know that Davis and we're both really big gamers. We play a lot of video games during our free time when we're not working. That's one of the ways that I know at least I deal with stress and detox after working all day. That's something I do is I play games or I'll read books. So it's really like just gotta figure out what things you enjoy that kind of help you relieve your stress and get through the day. So reframe your thinking. I don't know if Davis has anything to say about this one first before I go into it, or
Yeah, I mean, like what Nick's saying, back up with the just finding your strength and weaknesses, and re-strengthening your strengths. So, like Nick saying, with me, video games, that's what I use to unwind from the day. Um, I have a son. He's 4. He's getting kind of interested in sports, so sometimes we'll go outside and play basketball a little bit. Well, best that he can. Just teaching him, and just getting out, just walking. Even that's a good one. Make sure you always tell someone where you're at and where you're going for safety reasons. Just don't wander off. But walking, reading a book is something that would help you take your mind off of things that are stressing you out. We have Miss Amber Ham.
Hi guys, I had another question roll in. And it says, I'm not really comfortable talking to people because I don't think they can understand me. How can I speak up?
So something that I see as someone who who needed speech therapy and had a lot of trouble communicating growing up. Um, I recommend, especially if you're like still in school, and you have trouble like just conversing with someone or needing to speak up and say things. I recommend like what I did in those situations. Like if I had trouble talking to a teacher, uh, if there was another teacher or like my resource teacher or someone that I like really got along with, they're a lot more comfortable because my own personality is very different with people I know really well and people I don't know as well. So what I would do is I would go and like talk to like my resource teacher or talk to like my parent, like my mom, and say like and convey to them because I was comfortable communicating with them, tell them kind of what my problem was and what I was dealing with, and then have them help me um bridge the communication so that I could then be more comfortable talking to the people I needed to talk to that I wasn't comfortable talking with. And that's kind of one of the ways because it's never bad to get support from other people. Getting peer support or just any kind of support from other people that help you is not a bad thing at all. As I think, I want to say a previous Transition Tuesday, we talked about getting support from others, but but yeah, it's never not a bad idea too if you need help with something like that to converse with someone else and get their support.
Yeah, it's just like Rhonda was saying. I just want to say that when I was younger, we didn't have like the ability to text. Well, age a little bit. So I wrote stuff down, and I'm, at the end of the class, I'd give it to my teacher and we're like, hey, I need help with these things. And still to this day, I'm a big writer. I keep on my desk sticky notes. They're legal style, and then a pen, and I'm constantly just jotting down like just random like words and different things like that I know that will keep my brain to do those things. So as a natural resource you can use to communicate, but definitely writing it down is always a very good option.
All right. So overcoming disability denial and how to do that. Well, first, you need to figure out what works for you. Because again, everyone's struggles are different. Everyone is affected differently. So you need to be able to figure out what your thing is and what works for you, what helps you. And some ways is knowing like what helps you with your struggles at school. Those of you that are in school, when you have, especially if you have like an IEP or something like that, and you have certain struggles with doing your work or just whatever trouble you have at school, what are the things that help you with those? Because some of those skills and strategies or in those resources can help you outside of school and help you at life or at home. And the things that help you at home, um, those can help you into your adult life, just carrying over those resources and those strategies. Like me, since I was diagnosed with autism, I've been like a chronic walker. I go on walks all the time, not even because I need to go on a walk. It's just something that my body just needs to do. Not necessarily because I necessarily like, I'm like, oh, I need to go for a walk. It's just that like, I just do it. Because that's part of my autism is that sometimes I get really active, or if I get like really stressed, I need to get up and go physically do something. And that's something that I've done throughout my whole life is I've been able to understand that I need to go on walks and go pace and do things like that so I can kind of detox and help stimulate myself, help stimulate my mind. And that's something that I've always been able to do. It's something a strategy I've had for years. And I think it helps me. So thinking about what struggles you have at school and what helps you with those struggles, and especially those struggles you have at home, because you can very easily adapt those strategies into the real world and use those strategies to support you. So now we're going to talk about some services that you can access to support you throughout school and out in the real world, etc. So some services that you might have access to at school, you may have an IEP. I won't make assumptions. I know I had an IEP. I know people have IEPs. You might have an IEP that gives you access to different accommodations and modifications with your schoolwork and your tests and things like that. You might have an accommodations like extra time to do your work or extra time on tests, or maybe you're allowed to use a calculator when you're doing math stuff. Maybe your work has changed and looks different from the other students in your class. If you have an IEP, then your IEP has a list of goals to help get you where you need to be academically. And you might also be receiving some services outside of school, like speech therapy or other therapies like that, or even not even just outside of school, even in school. Because like me growing up, all throughout school, I had in the school system, I had physical therapy and I had like a biweekly occupational therapy where I saw the occupational therapist like every other week. That was something that I received in school. But then I went outside of school to get speech therapy. I would go up the road like every week, like once a week or once a month, I think, to work on speech skills. Um, so just examples of different like therapies and other things that you can get through your IEP that your IEP might have access to. And then there's also other things, and these are things that might more affect you outside of school. But we have assistive technology, which is things like there's a lot of version types of assistive technology out there. One example that I talk about that I've had is when I was in college, I got it was like a smart pen, and it was a pen that had a recorder and a camera inside of it, and it would the recorder would turn on and I would write with it, and the camera would scan what I was writing, and the camera would sync with the recorder. So if I went and I went back to what I wrote, the pen could see what I wrote, and it would play what was recorded when I wrote it. Really confusing technology. It was really, really fancy. But I got that through Yes Amber.
We had another question roll in, and it just says, where can I go to get more help on learning what my own strengths are?
So Davis might have feedback on this as well, but also I think the best place to start with that, with trying to figure out supports and figure out things that work for you, is go to the people who know you. Ask your parents about it, ask your friends, ask your teachers. If you're trying to figure out what your strengths are and what you're good at, ask them. I know me, I don't like really talking like highly about myself, so I don't like talking about what my strengths are. So it's hard for me to, if someone asks me, it's like, oh, what are you good at? Like, I have a hard time answering that because I'm not comfortable like talking about myself in that kind of way. Um, but like, I'd go like and ask a friend like what they think of me and get their opinion of me and ask them what they think my strengths are. So I'd say that's a good place to start. Is like talking to people who know you, your friends, family, teachers, um, people at church, if you go to church, any of that stuff, any of those people. But so with assistive technology though, there's you may know about, but there's vocational rehab, which is it's a program that can give you access to different services that you might need. They I used a handful of assistive technology when I went to college, like writing software and things like that that they paid for. I went through them and they paid for that technology for me. Vocational rehab also helps with employment. If you're trying to get a job, like if you finish high school and you don't go to college, or you finish college or you're at college, and if you need a job, or if you are trying to get a job but you're having trouble because of your disability, vocational rehab can help with that. They have a full job program where they'll it's like a 30-day job thing they do where they'll help you get hired somewhere through their program, and then they'll stay around and they'll assist you in various different ways for that month. They'll do like a month trial period where they'll assist you, they'll go over the different parts of it and see where you are at the end of that month and if you're able to hold that job or not. And the best thing about vocational rehab is that once you get a service from them, you don't leave, you're still part of them. So if you need to go back to them like 3 or 4 years later, they'll still be able to support you. Okay. So natural supports. Again, as the question Amber asked about supports, friends, teachers, caregivers, family, anyone like that, those are all natural supports that you can rely on to help you. Like I said, I depend on all that natural supports. I cannot drive currently. I'm unable to drive myself places. But I know that but I have a schedule where I write out any reason that I would need to leave the house. I have written out and I have it shared with my sister and my mother, so they know when I need to leave the house for like to get groceries or to go somewhere to do something else. So they can come and help me and drive me places, drive me to my appointments and things like that when I need that. And that's just one of the ways that I get supported. So here I have another Ian clip.
Is I want to encourage you guys to think about different creative solutions to what it is that you struggle with. And that's a better route to take instead of to say, well, I don't have anything, I'm fine, when we're actually really struggling with something. So I encourage you to think about what is it you're struggling with and how to fix it and how to find a solution that works for you. That's the main thing to take away from this video, guys, is what works for you. And whatever it is, find ways to do it. So I mentioned walking earlier. If I can't walk, if it's raining or something, maybe I go to the gym.
Ready? Yeah.
Or maybe I go read a book inside, or maybe I go do something else. There's all kinds of different ways, and you're never limited.
So what works for you? Not all assistive technology and things like that is electronic. You might use electronics to support your weaknesses, or you may prefer writing yourself notes using other means of support. Not to drag him out, but I know Davis keeps like 100 sticky notes all over his workstation. Because that's one of the ways that he helps. I can let him talk about it, but I know that that's
Yeah.
so like you can do like there's like physical ways to support yourself with technology and
Yes, definitely. Like I was saying earlier, notepads. I actually learned that when I was younger. I have a big one, but I actually have a small one I keep with my wallet, and a pen. So when I go leave the house, I take them with me to write a note. I find it easier than having to pull my phone out and go to my note section. Also, I have a whiteboard right here in front of me. So if there's like an appointment or something, I just write it up there real quick. So it's right there. I can see it constantly. Are very good things you can use without technology.
so some key takeaways about this whole presentation. So disability denial is real and it can be harmful to you now and in the future. To understand how your disability affects you and discover what works for you. And reframe your thinking and access services to support your weaknesses.
The thing that limits us a lot of times is our own head. So we have to find a way to not limit ourselves and go out and do something. So, all right. I want to encourage you guys, go out there, do big things, and we'll talk later. See ya.
So once you understand how your disability affects you and discover what works for you, there's not much you can't do. So don't try not to put limits on your ability to be successful by things you can't do, and don't be afraid to be who you are. And I'll go ahead and talk. I'll talk here since we're kind of at the end, and we're gonna go into resources here in a little bit, resources that we have. I will say, I am someone like I introduced myself at the beginning. I'm 26 years old. I've had an autism diagnosis my whole life. I didn't always know that I had a disability. It wasn't something that I really fully understood until I think I was about in middle school. And I'll say disability denial is being in that kind of that period where you just have that denial. It's not something that you'll overcome and it'll just kind of be gone forever. It's very much a thing that you can go throughout life. It's a thing that can come up multiple times, where for like a few months, like you'll feel great, you won't have it, you'll be really fine, and then like 1 week you'll just be like super down about it. Everyone experiences it different again. Like as I've said a few times, everyone goes through it differently. But I know I still struggle with disability now, despite being 26 and living on my own and having a job and natural supports that help me. I still have periods of disability denial. I know what my weaknesses are on my disability. I know the issues that it gives me, and I don't pretend that those issues aren't there, because that's part of disability denial is pretending that it's not a problem, which it is. Like I have struggles. Honestly, there are times when I honestly, like when I think about my disability and I think about where I am in life, there's times where I hate myself because of my disability. But that's not always. I don't always feel that way, because I know that I need to go and work over that hurdle and not be in that mindset. That's a bad mindset to have. Hating on yourself and being upset because of things that you can't entirely control isn't a good way to live life. So that's why you need to like really look at the parts of it that you can control. Because of course, when you have a disability, it's something that you can have for your entire life. So it's something you have to deal with your entire life. But you need to be able to find the parts of it that you can control and figure out how to cope with them. And so you can get through it. And again, it's a bunch of ups and downs. Like there's times where you'll be in that slump, you won't be happy about it. But then there can be times, if you work for it and you move towards it, there'll be times where you won't feel that way, and you'll feel happy and you'll be fine with it. But there is ups and downs. There's a lot of ups and downs. But the important thing is that there are ups. The ups will keep coming if you keep working towards them and you let them come. The good times will keep coming through, and you'll be fine. So now I believe I'm going to hand it over to Amber so she can go over our resources.
Actually, I think Davis takes the resources.
Yes, not be Davis. All right, Davis, I'll give it to you.
Excuse me.
All right.
And then I'll hop in at the end.
Okay. All right. No, go for it, Davis.
Here are some resources that we have. Self-advocacy goals and for IEPs, and this gives you a breakdown of some things you can do and you can fill out. These are also all printable through the link you should have received. And here's you got to know how to grow. It's about negative ableism and positive ableism, and what they are and how to recognize them, and just learning how to speak up for yourself and becoming who you are as a person. Overcoming ableism. Here's a little work guide. You can do. You can picture yourself here and write down some things you want to work on and what you recognize. And then here's a little section down here how to learn. Excuse me. How to advocate and get past stigma and ableism with your peers.
Okay, so I know we have like 6 minutes left, so I don't know if we have any last minute questions from the audience or anything like that. But we have a couple minutes if anyone has any questions they want to put in the chat that we can try to get to before the end here.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys.
As we're waiting for those questions that may come, I just want to say thank you to both of you as a mom and having a smaller child with autism. The stories that you share really give me insight to those feelings and situations that my son currently goes through and will go through as he gets older. And I just want to say that I appreciate everything that you're doing and sharing to help the youth.
See here, we do have something in the chat. Okay, no, she's trying to sending us a heart. Okay. Well, yeah, so we'll go ahead and Davis, if you want to run us through our what's coming next for us.
Yeah, so today's presentation was on accessing services and disability denial. What's next is money management. We're going to do a presentation on how to properly manage your money after you get a job, and that will be on April 23rd, 2024. Miss Amber is going to go ahead and drop some links in the chat for us. It will be the same time next month as it was this time. Here's a QR code that will take you to our website, if I remember correctly. Here's our phone number and our actual website email. And please fill out evals. They're very important to me and Nick. That's how we become better presenters, and we know exactly what you guys want. If we know what you want, we can get those resources and build a program and a presentation to give it to you in the way you guys could understand it. And we would love definitely hear back from you guys. So there's the QR code for that and a link below if you'd rather do that. Thank you.
And I just want
yes.
Sorry, guys. I just want to remind everyone that you will be receiving a follow-up email within the next 24 hours that will have all of the wonderful resources that Nick and Davis have went over today, as well as links that will send you to the printable worksheets and infographics. And as Davis stated, please take a moment to fill out our evaluation. This is so very important to us for you. We want to reach each and every one of you with the needs that you're seeing in your classrooms as an individual with a disability. And as you see here, our superhero team, they did a wonderful job today and always, and we want to make sure that we're reaching and meeting the needs of the individuals across the state of Kentucky. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna lead us out or I can. But I guess thanks everyone for tuning in for this one. We talked about a lot of stuff. We do have a lot of really good resources. I personally feel for this particular topic. It is a topic that I'm passionate about. But yeah, just to echo what Amber and Davis both said, fill out the evaluation. It really helps us know what we can do better and what we're doing fine at, and yeah.
We will see everyone back next month, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your month. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Visit www.kyspin.com.